3. Alright, so I was gone last week, and now we're back for week 3. So over the break, what I did was I watched a few drum videos, and I finished up the rest of accents and rebounds, which I hadn't finished. So that's all done, and now we're going to be moving on to the Wilcoxon book. So before we talk about the Wilcoxon book, what I really want to do is I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been noticing in my playing so far. So the first thing is that I noticed that when I'm playing in German grip, it really makes a difference for me when I switch my fulcrum from the index finger to the middle finger. So that's something that I really want to keep doing moving forward. And something that I also did is I watched the Jojo Mayer hand technique video, the secret weapons video, and I noticed that when he was talking about the German grip, he was also talking about playing with the fulcrum on the middle finger. So there you go, another reason why I should continue doing that. Something else I've been noticing is I'm hearing a lot more mistakes in my playing. So I don't know if that's my ears improving or I'm just getting worse, but I think it's just my ears getting better. So I think that's a good thing, hearing mistakes. It's just more things to work on, more things to fix. Because for a while I had a problem where I just couldn't really hear what to work on, even though I probably had a lot of things to work on. So it's a little bit worrying, but it's also, I think it's a good thing. So I'm just gonna keep listening for things like that. It's mostly just like timing issues, especially in transitions, and just some dynamic issues, especially with my bass drum. So that's something to watch out for a little bit later on. Another thing that I noticed is I was watching a little clip on Instagram, I think, of a Drumeo video where it was Thomas Lang playing doubles around the drum kit. And one of the things that he was talking about was accenting the second note of the doubles, which is something I've always heard about, but I saw him actually apply it on the drum set, and it was really, really cool. And it's something that was talked about in accents and rebounds as well. So that's something that I'm thinking about continuing to work on. So I'm just going to try to accent a little bit more on the second note of my doubles instead of having it just be bounces, and see if it evens out a little bit. Alright, so that's basically it for what I did during my week off. Now it's time to get into week 3. So for the next couple of weeks, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working on this Wilcoxon book. So I'm going to be doing just the main solos, but only the ones that are played on the snare drum. So I'm going to be skipping the ones on like the high tom, low tom, and all the ones that are on 2 voices, unless it's just the bass drum, then that's fine. So I'm just going to be focusing on, I think there are about 27 of them that are just all snare drum. So those are what I'm going to be working on. And I'm going to give myself 2 weeks to work on this book. I think that if I do 3 a day, then I should be able to get through all of them in about 10 days. So another thing with this book that I'm going to be trying to do is I'm going to try to play all of these and record them on the snare drum. So usually I play these on the practice pad, but I want to go through them on the snare drum and actually record the snare drum with proper microphones, because I have microphones, just to see all the little minute differences that happen when you're playing on a snare drum versus on a pad. So I'm going to be practicing on the pad, but once I have all my solos ready, I think I'm going to try to record them with my mics and on video on the snare drum. So that's the other thing that I'm going to be doing. So in terms of speed, I was thinking of trying to do them all at 100 beats per minute, or I think it's quarter note 100 beats per minute. But what I think I'm going to be doing instead is I'm going to be trying to play them a little bit slower. So I'm going to try them at 160, which is a speed that one of my teachers told me to play these at. So I'm going to try it at that speed, just because I know that playing slower has been helping me a lot. So I'm just going to continue doing it like that. So 160, I'm going to try to play all of these at 160 eighth note or 80 quarter note, if that makes sense. So I've tried going through this book before, but I didn't really make it too far. I did one of the solos, Old Sue, for one of my auditions for my school. And then I did maybe the first 3 or 4 pages, but I never really went through the whole thing. It looks like it's pretty good. It's just I never really found the right reasons to actually put the time in to work on these. But now I think I'm just going to go for it and see how well I can do. Some of the things that I'm going to do as well is I might write in all the stick choreographies from accents and rebounds. I might also add in some double bar lines, because I find myself getting lost sometimes. It might make it a little bit easier to split the solos in different sections and maybe like focus on one section at a time instead of doing the whole thing every time, because I know that's something I used to do, and then the endings were always a lot weaker than the beginnings. So I might just do that. So that's one of the things I want to do, just look through all of these. I was doing that a little bit earlier as well, just trying to look through all of these and figure out what's going on. So anyway, the plan for this week is just going to be going through the book as much as I can. I have 2 weeks to do the whole thing. I know that the last solos are pretty hard and the first one's pretty easy, but I'm just going to focus on playing all of them on the practice pad first, and then playing them on the snare drum, and then recording a good take on the snare, and then probably posting that. And then I'm going to try to do that for all of the snare drum solos, and then if I have time I might try the other ones that aren't centered on the snare, or even the earlier pages, which are just like rudiment exercises. So if I have time, if I finish early, then I'm going to be doing that. But if not, I'm just going to try to do all of the solos at 160 as clean as possible on the snare drum, recorded with these snare mics, just to see if I can hear something that maybe I haven't been noticing before. So anyway, so that's the plan for this week and next week. But I'm going to try to update a little bit more, because what I find is I always have things that I want to talk about, but I usually just don't film, and I think that I'll remember when I film, usually at the end of the week or at the beginning of the week. What I'm going to try to do from now on is just maybe update a little bit more frequently. As soon as I have an idea in my head, I'll just put the camera up and talk about it. I think that that might be a little bit better, maybe also a little bit more interesting for people who are watching this. So yeah, that's the plan, and we'll see how it goes. Week 3 starting out.